Hello everyone, welcome to BISP Solution. Today we are going to discuss about the HCM extraction. So HCM extract stand for Human Capital Management Extracts, and HCM extracts are used to gather and extract information from the HCM system database, and this data can include employee records, payroll information, time and attendance data, benefit information, and other HR related data. So these extracts can then be used for various purposes such as generating reports, performing data analysis, complying with regulatory requirement, or integrating HR data with other business system. So the specific capabilities and feature of HCM extract can vary from one HCM software system to another, but the primary goal is to provide a means of extracting and managing HR data for reporting and analysis purpose. So let's talk about the extract. So basically, the main way to retrieve data in bulk from Oracle HCM Cloud is by using HCM Extract, a tool for generating data files and reports. And HCM Extract has a dedicated interface for specifying the records and attributes to be extracted. And you can also identify records for extraction using complex selection criteria, and you can define data element in an HCM extract using the fast formula database item and rules. So you manage HCM extract either in the data exchange work area or using the checklist interface in the payroll work area. And alternatively, you can run extract using the flow action service web service from outside Oracle HCM Cloud. This feature enables you to automate the outbound extract as part of an overall integration flow. So using the built-in integration with the Oracle BI Publisher, you can generate extract in various formats, including the CSV, XML, Microsoft Excel, HTML, RTF, and the PDF. And you can download the raw hierarchical XML from a completed extract using the extract action service web page. So alternatively, you can download the formatted BI report, for example the CSV file, using the BI schedule service. In both cases, the output is streamed in a byte array. Therefore, any orchestration mechanism must have handled this output, possibly by means of wrapper code. So you can also generate an HCM extract without specifying an output format at the design stage. Later, you can generate a BI report based on the extract using either BI Publisher or the BI report service. So this technique uses a dedicated BI data model that interfaces with the generated HCM extract XML. So now let's talk about the extract component. So HCM extract feature is a flexible tool for generating data files and reports. This topic covers how you can use the extract component to define what information you want the application to extract and report on. And it also explains how the application display formats and delivers the information. So first we have the extract definition. An extract definition refers to the complete setup of an extract that consists of extract data group, criteria, records, attribute, advanced condition, and output delivery options. An extract definition consists of one or more extract data group depending on how many logical entities you want to extract, and also consists of one or more extract record depending on how many groups of information you want to collect, and then also consists of one or more attribute depending on how many individuals fields of data you want to collect. So you use HCM extract to extract, archive, transform, report, and deliver high volumes of HCM data from the Oracle Fusion HCM database. You can generate the output in the formats like CSV, XML, Excel, HTML, RTF, PDF. And you can distribute the extracted information by email, fax, and other delivery modes. Some common example of extracts are the PDF, payslip delivered to the employee mailboxes, payroll or benefit data transfer to the third-party service provider, HR and talent data exchange between the Oracle Fusion and the legacy application, for example in a coexisting scenario. Then next we have the data group. So extract data group represent a business area or logical entity, for example person and the assignment or the benefit. The application uses this information to retrieve the database item groups, and you can define one data group as the primary or root data group, and this data group is the starting point of the data extraction. An extract data group connection captures the association details between the current data group and the parent data group. So the data group connections from the hierarchical relationship among the data group. You can define a set of filtering condition the application must perform on an extract data group using the extract data group criteria, and you specify the criteria condition using an expression or the fast formula. Next we have the extract record. So extract record represent a grouping of related data or a physical collection of all fields required in the extract. For example, the employee data group can have records such as basic detail, pay detail, location detail, and primary contact. An extract record is a collection of attributes which you can organize in a required sequence. For example, if a data group has 3 records, then you can specify the sequence in which the application processes the record. You can also select the next data group to identify which data group the application processes next. Okay, so the next component we have the attribute component. So attribute are the individual field inside the extract record. An attribute is the lowest attribute level of a HCM extract and represent a piece of information. For example, a person first name, person last name, or person date of birth. So, for example, at the top of the hierarchy we have department data group. Then we have the department information record, and then department other information record, and under that record we have the department ID attribute and department name attribute under the department information record, and under the department other information record we have department location attribute and the department start date attribute. So according to this hierarchy, the attribute is the lowest attribute level of the extraction. Then we have the threading database item. So it's a unique identifier for a given user entity to uniquely identify an extracted record. Configuring it, item makes the comparison and identification of changes only extract runs more efficient. So you can define one threading database item at the root data group or at any child data group level. So the second last component we have is a conditional action. So a conditional action identifies the action to perform and optionally print a message based on the outcome of a conditional expression or a predefined fast formula. Conditional action are applied on the extracted data similar to criteria condition that are applied prior to extraction. An action and message are predefined in lookups, and you can add your own message by creating new values for the lookup. When a condition is satisfied, you can use this feature to perform certain predefined action. For example, you can exclude employees that satisfy a condition, such as all employees from a predefined country. You can also configure this feature to raise a warning when an employee's salary is blank or beyond a specific level. So Oracle strongly recommend user to avoid using conditional action which can adversely impact the runtime performance of an extract run. So let's move on to the last component, that is exclusion rules. So you can exclude or override a record that doesn't suit your requirement with your own record by using an exclusion rule. The extract process does not process excluded records based on the legislative data group. And also Oracle strongly recommended not using exclusion rule as these are extremely difficult to troubleshoot when record get excluded. So alternatively, use BI publisher template to handle the processing of conditional action and the exclusion rules. So now we are going to talk about the HCM extract type. So you can see here we have 9 types of HCM extract. So if we go to the My Client Group option and log in with the HR user, and here you have to search for the data exchange. And under the data exchange you have the extract definition. These are already existed extract definition. You can see here. You can see the hierarchy. You can export the extract, you can copy or rename it, and you can also edit that. And here you can see this option to submit the extraction, and this is for the view the extract run detail. So now if you want to see the extract type, you have to just click on this plus icon, then you have to click on the create new. Here you can see these are the types of the extraction. So under the create new extract definition you can see the type of the extraction. So let's again go to the slides, and then I'm going to explain you the purpose of these extract type here. So basically the type of extract you select determines the purpose of the extract. It also determines the parameter that are automatically generated. So for example, if you select the payroll interface extract type, then the application creates a changes only parameter, as well as the other parameter you can select the extract type on the extract definition page. So here you can see the total 9 extract type we have here. So let's talk about the full profile first. So its purpose is to complete employee and payroll data archives. And then we have the payroll interface. So it is used for providing data to a third-party payroll service provider. And next we have the payment. So its purpose is the salary payment method archives, for example paid through check or the bank transfer. Next we have the benefit carrier. So it's used for providing data to third-party benefit service provider. Then we have the archive retrieval. So it's used for report based on the permanently archived data, for example the pay slip. Okay, the next we have the sixth one, it's a EOY archive. So it's used for end of year. So EOY stand for the end of year. So it's used for the end of year archives like HR, benefit data. So HR archives is used for all HR archives. And if we talk about the second last, the payroll archive, so it's going to be used for all payroll or the payslip archive. And at last we have the other payroll archive. So it is going to be used for all payroll archives. So these are the extract type. So here you can see all the types. So according to your requirement, you can select the type and then create your extraction. Like if you select it, you have to give the name, and here you can see the consumer. So we are going to talk about these fields in our upcoming session. Okay, now let's talk about the overview of global payroll interface extract. So you can use the global payroll interface report to extract payroll and employee details such as the salary and the deduction detail. So global payroll interface extracts and reports only employee information. So global payroll interface reports historical records for our salary, element entries and bank account on a personal payment method. So these records are all effective dated records that are effective within the specified extraction window. For all other data, global payroll interface report the top of the stack record that's effective within the specified extraction window. You can use business intelligence publisher, the BI publisher template to send the extract data to the payroll provider and copy this extract definition to generate a custom flow with the same name as the extract. You can add custom field to the extract definition. The extracted data includes global and country specific data. Depending upon the LDG, the application copies country specific data. For example, when you copy a GPI extract definition within an Australian LDG context, global and Australia specific data is copied to the new extract. For the countries that supported a calculation card, if you copy the delivered GPI V2 into the country's LDG, you can get both global and data including the calculation card. If the country does not support a calculation card, only global data is extracted within the country specific name, address and bank account formats. Payroll interface uses HCM extract infrastructure. All delivery options available within HCM extract are available for global payroll interface. For example, the output file can either be sent across through SFTP or using HCM connect over to specified destination. So before you begin, you have to set up certain element including license type for country and territory while you configure the global payroll interface. So for that you have to use the feature by country or the territory task. So if we go to the application, let's just go to the home page. Here you have payroll. Okay, under the quick action, click on the show more, then find the payroll. Here you can see the features by country or the territory task. Okay, here you have to select the extension. Here is the United States. For the United States, selected here the payroll extension. You can see we have three: human resource, payroll interface, and payroll. So here first we have to select the payroll interface to perform the payroll related extraction. Okay, so this is the task, the features by country or the territory, which you can find under the payroll module. Okay, so next we have here the geographies and the legislative data group. So that you can find under the setup and maintenance. You have to go to the load geographies for US, Mexico, Canada, and interface data. Let's open this. So here you can see these are the processes. This is the schedule. After loading this, you have to process this feature. So here you can see those. So this the load geography for US task you can find in the enterprise profile functional area. Here you can see the load geography for US under the enterprise profile. So you can load geographies and create the geography structure for each country and ensure that you have selected the data source of either GVG or locate or your own provider. Okay, then next we have here the legal employer. Okay, and here also we have the legislative data group. So for the legislative data group, you have to search here the manage legislative data group task under the workforce structure. So if I select the all task here, so we can find here the manage legislative data group. So to define the legislative data group, to identify the country and its currency, define at least one legislative data group for each country and associated it with the PSU to provide the payroll information for the workers or the employee. Let's open the existing one. Here you can see you have to define the country and the currency. Okay, now let's talk about the legal employer. So a legal employer is a legal entity that employs worker. Define the legal entity type, and depending on the organization structure, as like one legal entity that's also a payroll statutory unit and a legal employer, and also multiple legal entity which are children of one payroll statutory unit. Here you have to search for the manage legal entity. It's under the legal structure here. So if we go here you can find the legal entity. Wait, cancel this one. Okay, so this is the existing one. You can see here, if you check this box on, so this legal entity is also going to act as your payroll statutory unit, like you can pay to your employees. And if you deselect this, so this box is now enabled. Here you can select your payroll statutory unit, like you can select your different legal entity, right, which are going to pay to your employee. So this is how you can define your legal employer, because legal employer is a legal entity that employs the worker, or we can say that is going to pay to the worker. So next we have the payment method here in the payroll interface extract. So we have different kinds of payment methods. Here you can see the organization payment method. So at least one payment method for each combination of legislative data group, payment type and currency. You have to create at least one. And you can also create rules to validate or process the distribution of payment. And when creating a payment method, you have to always select the, like if you just click on this action button, from here you can export also, import also and compare also. And here you can also see the create new option. These are the basic information you have to fill while creating your payment method. And another way, from my client group you can create your payment method. I have to find the payroll again. Here we have the organization payment method. If you click on the create, you have to first select your legislative data group. And select the suitable effective date here for your record. You can see these are the information you have to fill. You have to fill the payment type, okay, the check, the direct deposit and the international transfer. And here is the payment source information and payment method rules. So you can set your rules also. Okay, so these are the information you have to fill. So moving to the slide and to our next topic. We are going to talk about the user entity detail. So when creating an extract definition, you need user entity details to create a data group, and you can search and view the user entity details by navigating to the search page of the view user entity detail task from the data exchange work area. So you can also access the user entity detail UI when you create a data group in the design tab of the extract definition task. So for viewing the user entity, you have to go to the data exchange. For that, in the my client group, you have to click on the show more, then find the data exchange option. Here we have, and now here you have to find the view user entity detail. Here you can see, you have to just click on that, and here you have to enter a keyword or user entity name associated with that. For example, let's say PER EXT then open this one. Okay, so here by using this user entity detail page, you can review the type of the user entity, and for example, you can see here the single row, the multiple row, the historic or the effective date, and also you can view the database item available in the user entity, and you can validate user entity. You can validate your user entity with the root data group, and you can review the context used and set up by the user entity, and you can also review the SQL query the user entity uses and calculate the number of rows in a data set, and also verify the extract that are using the user entity. Here you can see that the dependent user entity, if there is any, okay, and the parent user entity you can see here, the required context and the context set from here, and you can review your user entity query from here, and then you can see extract using user entity. So you can see the detail or the information that you can driven from the user entity detail UI. You can see all of the information related your user entity. Now to review the user entity detail, search for the user entity in the user entity detail. We just do that, and if the value of valid for the root data group is yes, the user entity can be used as the data group. Like here you can see this, the valid for root data group is yes, the user entity can be used for a root data group. So you can also determine if a user entity is a valid for use as a root data group, and if the value of multiple rows is yes, and also the context required is no. So if a user entity is not a multiple row user, you must not use it as the root data group. So if a multiple row user entity sets the context required for a single row user entity, the database item group from a single row user entity are generally included as derived database item groups to the multiple row user entity. For example, the person per here the person detail UE user entity is not a multiple row user entity. Okay, and if a user entity is historic, it retrieves the data irrespective of the effective date. For example, the per extract assignment basic history UE user entity retrieves the entire historical detail of an assignment. So if a user entity is not a historic, it retrieves data as of the effective date. For example, the per extraction pay employees V2 UE user entity retrieves the person, assignment and the payroll details as of the effective date. Okay, so next we have the review the SQL query, which you can see here. This is the user entity query. Okay, so the user entity details UI search for a user entity, and then you can click on your query tab here, and this tab lists the SQL query that the user entity uses to extract data. You can review the table structure and alias, which is useful for creating advanced filter criteria. So if the user entity is valid as a root data group, you can calculate the rows that the SQL query will return. However, the number of rows returned is an estimate and might not match the exact number of rows the extract will return. The actual extract output depends on the filter criteria, expression and fast formula used in that extract. So we have also the required context, so we can review our context. So the context required section list the context that you have to set to use the user entity in the extract. For example, the per person phone UE user entity requires the person ID context. So therefore you must set the person ID context to use this user entity. So generally the user entity that are not historic required the effective date context. So however, the effective date context is set by default, so you don't have to set this context explicitly. The context set section lists the context that are the set by the user entity. For example, the per extraction UE user entity sets the person ID, organization ID and the enterprise ID context that can be used by other user entity. Now at last we have the verify extract using the user entity. Okay, so in the user entity detail UI you have to search the extract using user entity and then come here. So if another extract is using the user entity, you can review the extract design to understand how the user entity is being used. You can also copy the extract design and then modify it to suit your needs. So this is all about the user entity detail. Now if we move ahead, so we are going to talk about the user entities in HCM extracts. So a user entity is a logical entity associated with the data group defined using HCM extract. So this topic describe the frequently used user entity and the type of data you can extract by using those user entity. You select the user entities in the application when you define a data group. So the person user entity, so here you can see on the screen the user entity name and the code of that user entity. So I'm going to just describe every user entity. So according to your requirement, you can use the user entity. So this person user entity retrieves all information across the enterprise and all person related attribute. And the employee user entity returns person assignment and payroll details as on effective date. Then the extract assignment basic history retrieves the assignment history as on the assignment effective start date, and the extract assignment basic information retrieves assignment data as on the effective date, and the assignment range retrieves assignment history as on the effective date. So you can see the assignment basic history and assignment basic information, these are two different, there is only one word difference is there. So the assignment basic history retrieves assignment history as on the assignment effective date, and assignment basic information retrieves assignment data as on the effective date. Then if we move ahead to the sixth user entity, the extract current and future person, it retrieves current and future person detail and specify advanced filter criteria to restrict person type. And the extract current and future assignment retrieves current and future assignment. So here also you can see the same but two different user entity, there is only one word different. The current and future person, so it's retrieve current and future person detail and specify advanced filter criteria to restrict person type. And then we have the current and future assignment, so it retrieve current and future assignment. Then the second last we have the reset context. So they use the reset context user entity in two ways. So it reset the effective date context set dynamically by a parent data group using a runtime input parameter for the effective date. For example, the extract assignment basic history user entity sets the assignment effective start date as effective date first and then retrieves the data, unlike other user entity which use the effective date only. So if you want to use the extract assignment basic history user entity to include the historical data but also want to change the effective date, then include the reset context user entity to reset this date using the input parameter. And the second way is to set up the reset context user entity as the root user entity to be a container or a header. For example, the work structure element, the location, the position and the legal employer are not related to each other. So if you want to extract all of them in one single extract, then you can add them as child element to the reset context user entity used at the root in the extract definition, and adding this user entity as the root to these elements enables you to retrieve this data separately because the elements are not linked to the hierarchy. And at last we have the assignment standard working hours. So the function per extract utility get standard working hours, select the standard working hours for a position attached to the assignment, because when we create the position, then in the position creation page we define the working hours there, the standard working hours. For example, the 40 hours in a week. So that's why the working hours associated with the position. So hours, select the standard working hours for a position attached to the assignment or for the organization or to the legal entity in that order. So you can select your user entity according to your requirement and extract your details. So this is all about today's session, and in our upcoming session we are going to discuss about the extract templates, the define extract, and also we are going to see the example of the extraction, how we can perform the extraction by using the user entity, by selecting the type, and how we can view the extraction, how we can submit the extraction. These are the things we are going to see in our upcoming session. Okay, so thank you so much for watching the session, and I hope this session is very